Welcome back to the deep dive. There's this piece of advice we hear all the time in business, especially sales. Be patient. But today, we're going to challenge that. We're looking at a view that says patience in sales. It might actually be, well, deadly for your results. So I want to ask you, if you're leading a sales team or managing revenue, how much are you potentially losing because your team is, waiting? We praise patience, sure, maybe in those long enterprise deals. But what if waiting, that act itself, is the biggest sign of deals going cold, lost momentum, and ultimately missing your numbers? We've been looking into this perspective from the sales experts, and their take is pretty blunt. Patience is not a virtue in sales. It's a waste of time. So our goal here is to pull out some really practical, high-impact ideas for leaders. How do you build a system for sales success, something predictable, instead of just hoping for the best?
Yeah, it's a powerful idea. And what's interesting is that the source isn't just talking about people sitting around doing nothing. It's about a specific kind of trap. The best sales orgs know this secret. Active selling, powered by a system, always beats just waiting around. For leaders, waiting basically means you're accepting risk you don't need to.
Okay, let's unpack that, this core problem.
Hmm.
The source calls it active waiting. Sounds weird, right? Active waiting.
Yeah, sound like a contradiction, yeah. But it's a really subtle productivity killer. Managers need to be able to spot this. Active waiting is basically how smart, busy people can look productive, but they're avoiding the actual critical tasks, the ones that push a deal forward. Maybe it's fear of rejection, maybe avoiding accountability, but it shows up as lots of activity just on low-value stuff.
Right, we've all seen that, haven't we? The person who seems incredibly busy, always at their desk, but the pipeline's just not moving. So what does this active waiting actually look like for a salesperson?
Well, the sources point to three big red flags leaders should look for. First one, probably the most common, just constantly checking email. Responding to every little thing reactively instead of proactively reaching out. It's volume, but not value.
Okay, email checking. What else?
Second is that organizational black hole. Spending hours organizing files, tweaking CRM entries perfectly, when they really should be on the phone, booking meetings, having conversations. It looks like diligence, but it's really just procrastination.
Busy work disguises efficiency. Got it. And the third?
The third is the ultimate passive trap. Just hoping the customer makes the next move without any real structured follow-up from the salesperson. This is where patience turns toxic. The source makes a key distinction. Patience is okay after a decision is made, like during legal review or procurement, fine. But any patience before that, that's just taking on unnecessary risk.
That's a really important distinction. Patience while finance reviews a signed contract is one thing. Patience waiting for someone to call you back after an initial contact? Totally different. Deadly even. So while the rep is stuck in this active waiting cycle, what's the bottom line impact for the executive, for the company?
The impact is pipeline erosion. It's the cost of delay creeping up. While your team is busy tidying their inbox, your competitors, the ones with a real sales system and a focus on execution, they're grabbing the deals you should be closing. Waiting directly hits your sales velocity, how fast deals move through your pipeline. And a slow velocity, that's a measurable failure. Waiting isn't strategy, it's just procrastination made official.
Okay, so if active waiting is the problem, then active selling has to be the answer. And this brings us to what the sales experts recommend. Ditching hope and building a solid, structured sales system. How does a leader actually build that? A system that creates momentum instead of just, waiting for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Active selling, when you build it into your process, it kind of removes the temptation, the emotional choice to just wait. It's the absolute core of a good sales system. And when we say system, we're not just talking about a checklist. Think more like people, process, and technology all working together.
People, process, technology. Okay.
Exactly. A good system uses technology, especially the CRM, to enforce a standard process. And that process drives the right kind of predictable, high-impact behaviors from your people. It takes the guesswork out.
So it's about standardizing what works. Let's get specific. Actionable Insight 1 from the source is about defining the sales rhythm. What activities are non-negotiable?
The rhythm is all about consistency, different levels of activity to make sure nothing just sits there getting stale.
Yeah.
Leaders need to check their teams against this. So first, the foundation. Daily high-value actions. That means mandatory prospecting calls, targeted follow-ups every single day. It's about leverage, making sure most of the day is spent doing things that directly impact revenue, not just admin.
Daily engine running. Okay, makes sense. Well, there's the next level up in this rhythm.
Second level is weekly outreach campaigns and targeted check-ins for leads that are, maybe mid-funnel. Still evaluating. This isn't just random dialing. It's specific communication aimed at moving that prospect to the next stage or finding out why they're stuck.
Got it. Daily, weekly.
Mm.
What about longer term?
And third, you need those monthly touch points, lead nurturing stuff, maybe a strategic newsletter, sharing some insights. This keeps leads warm even if they aren't ready to buy right now, so you don't just abandon them passively. This whole structure, this rhythm, it's the difference between just hoping traffic shows up and actually designing the flow of traffic.
I can see the structure, but here's where maybe an executive listening might push back a little. We get structure, but in complex, high-value sales, doesn't a rigid system risk, stifling the creativity of your top reps, the ones who have their own successful methods? Could it lead to burnout?
That's a fair question. It really touches on managing change effectively. The key is the system provides the floor, right? It's the minimum non-negotiable activity level needed to keep the pipeline healthy. It ensures everyone, even your stars, does the basics to prevent deal stalling.
Okay, so it's a baseline.
Exactly, your top performers. They can still absolutely use their own creative plays, their unique strategies, but they do it on top of that standard rhythm. For leaders, this is crucial. The system makes the baseline revenue predictable. It systematizes momentum. But you still leave room for those big wins driven by individual talent.
Okay. So the system is both a safety net and an accelerator. It stops people coasting, but also prevents burnout from feeling lost. And it shifts focus from just effort to actual measurable results, which brings us nicely to the next insight. The measurable proof that systems beat hope.
Yes, connecting it back to the big picture for leadership. It's the measurable outcomes that really sell this. A system isn't just about control for control's sake. It's about visibility. It's about managing risk strategically.
So what are those tangible benefits?
Yeah.
For these ex listening?
Well, the system delivers three key things. First, it forces prompt lead qualification and follow-up. That directly boosts conversion rates right at the start of the funnel. Huge impact there.
Better conversions early on. Makes sense.
On a second. And this is a vital pipeline health check the system uses tech to flag when deals get stuck. Leaders can suddenly do real-time in-stage analysis. You see immediately which deals are just sitting idle, maybe in that evaluation stage where reps tend to actively wait. And you mandate action. Move it forward. Or get it out of the pipeline. No more letting prospects just linger forever.
That's powerful. It takes the subjective guesswork out of pipeline reviews. Forces decisions based on actual data, not just optimism.
Precisely. And third, everyone on the team starts working towards measurable targets, but focused on leading indicators. Things like dials to connects, meetings booked, proposals sent, not just waiting for the lagging revenue number at the end of the quarter. If you manage those activities, the revenue predictability tends to follow. Hope is, well, it's just an emotion. A system you can measure, that's a strategy.
That clarity is really compelling. When you have that disciplined sales strategy, you're truly practicing active selling. You're building momentum systematically, not just crossing your fingers for luck to hit your numbers. You're actually operationalizing growth. Okay, let's pull this all together then. The big takeaway for leaders: patience. It might feel professional, might feel safe even, but we've seen pretty clearly from this deep dive that the wrong kind of patience, that active waiting, is just lethal for growth, especially when competitors are moving fast. Real sales success doesn't come from accepting delays. It comes from actively driving things forward with a structured, measurable sales system.
Which really leaves one critical question for every sales leader listening right now. Are your current processes built on hope? Or are they genuinely structured, systematically, to guarantee momentum? When are you going to actually audit your team's time and stage data? Find out the real cost of all that active waiting. Look, if you're serious about optimizing your sales engine, building that consistent success, and getting the kind of top performers who thrive in that structured environment, then exploring these system-based strategies further is probably your next step.
And you can find a lot more resources on building that strategy, recruiting effectively, training, and keeping those top performers. Just visit thesalesexperts.com. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive on turning patience into predictable pipeline power. We'll catch you on the next one.